Welcome to your Get Back Into Golf guide. The season's around the corner and we want to help you get in the best shape possible.
So we've covered basic exercises and we're touching on all the fundamentals of setup, posture and grip to make sure that you're ready to hit the first tee in the best possible way.
So let's get into our first week where we look at some basics on grip, stance, posture and how you get set up on the course. Okay, Nat, so I think some really big things that golfers need to look at, like in week one, is just some fundamentals, right?
Yeah, I think it's nice to sort of refresh the basics, isn't it? You know, just to go through grip and stance and ball position and just make sure we've got those nailed.
Fab. So in today, we're going to show Nat's going to take your place in this first video in the series. We're going to do some grip tricks, how to get in the perfect posture, stance width, and then just lay out a really nice simple way for you to check your ball position with every single club. Right, Nat, so I think the first place that we need to start with this, because this is a guide here, is grip. Then we're going to sort of build down to the club and then out to the feet. Okay, so nice simple routine, and this is what I think is a great reminder, is getting that club back in our fingers on our glove hand. So I'm just asking you to pick that basket up with your glove hand and just pick it up for me. Where straight away do you put that basket?
Sort of in the meaty part of my hand here.
Yeah, exactly, and you can see this on a close-up right now. So when you're down the range, this is just a brilliant way just to go, all right, okay, what was that feeling of having that club in the fingers? Like a nice, easy reminder. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, and I guess without one of your golf mates or somebody with you, this may be a little bit harder to emulate, but one thing that I do recommend is sort of just holding it in front of you like this to get the same thing as the basket. Perfect. But if I hold that like that, and you, okay, straight away, that's how you pick up a basket, isn't it?
Yeah.
So really nice and simple. So what can you see there? Just tell me, like, how many knuckles can you see?
So I can see 2 roughly.
Fab, good. And this will change depending on player. Now what I want you to do now is just put your right hand on for me now and cover up that thumb. So both hands straight away, where are these creases pointing for you?
Just straight down in a V shape.
Okay, and sort of, would you say maybe towards the right shoulder a little bit?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Cool. So how does that feel? Because I know Nat is a golfer who definitely struggles with a very strong grip, so that's going to feel quite weak to her.
Very weak. I feel like, because naturally I want to pull it that way, yeah, which probably a lot of golfers do.
For sure.
That just sort of suits how I've played, so it does feel a little bit weaker, but it sits more neutral.
Great.
Because I know for me, if I'm like this, I kind of rotate myself very closed and then everything's off from there.
Yeah, and look, this is a great time of year to refresh, get yourself set, and make sure you've got the right grip. So that's our first point. Okay, now, next up, how you stand to the golf ball. So just run me through your grip again. Make sure you got that right.
Okay, right, so I'll get away from the strong grip.
Please.
So I can see 2 knuckles.
Yep.
As I'd pick up the basket. Right hand on, just covering the thumb.
Fab. Awesome. That must feel horrible to you.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so just address that golf ball for me. This is one of the common errors that I see for a lot of golfers, is just that lazy setup. Either being too upright, too over it, too much knee bend. So a nice simple reminder now, if you just sort of follow the same process I'm going to do here. So we've got our grip.
Yep.
Get your grip, hold it up in front of you. Lower that club till it's parallel to the ground. And just move your stance width now. It's like shoulder width apart. We've got an iron in our hand here. So have we got 7-9?
7-9, yeah.
We've got 7-9. So all I want you to do now is just bend over from those hips. So just bow forward from the hips, keeping the leg straight until the club hits the ground, then slightly bend the knees. So that is the great way of whatever club you got. So if I gave you driver, repeat the same process. If I gave you a pitching wedge, 50 degree, whatever it is, repeat that same process. So you can see there now for everybody again, the back of your armpits are sort of over your toes. These are the balance points that we got, which leads us nicely on to the exercises, right?
Exactly, so this feels quite strong for me. It feels quite stable, like I can feel both feet connected to the ground, like I'm ready to hit the shot. And that's exactly what we're going through with exercise number 1 in this guide, is it just trying to find our neutral posture again. Mm-hmm. So as you've just said here about all these nice angles, making sure that we're not too tall, making sure that we're not too bent over, and we've not lost any arch or tuck of the pelvis. We're just sat where we should be.
Fab. Okay, Nat, so how many times do you repeat that? We've obviously got the separate video for this, but how many times?
How many reps for the exercise? Yeah. I think it's just a case of probably a 5 to 10 to begin with. It's one of those ones you will pick up quite quickly and you'll sort of find your own positions and what's natural for you. But I think with this one, definitely to use a mirror, because it's helpful to see your own posture on the side. As we've said, like even just setting up like this against, you know, with the ball here, just having a look across and going, right, okay, where's my spine line ball, where's my pelvis? And then you get a sort of reference point for what you see and what you feel.
Fab. Okay, and next point here now, before we move on to ball position every single club, a nice simple rule of thumb for everybody is the longer the club, the wider the stance becomes. So I would sort of just be in a shoulder width apart for a pitching wedge and work all the way up to just wide of shoulder width apart for our driver. It's a gradual progression, not an exact science, but just understand that if you're swinging it faster, you need a bit more of a solid base.
Yeah, and obviously a wider arc, longer club as well, so a bit more speed, a bit more power, so we need a bit more strength to the ground to deal with that.
Fab. Okay, final point here in this first video about ball position with every club. Okay, now, final part of this video, we're going to look at ball position. Now, this is massive for like angle of attack, club face control, club path, and it has a big influence on how we strike the golf ball.
I'm guessing that changes distance then as well, does it?
Yeah, okay, exactly. Okay, so what I want you to think about here is, if I said to you, look down at here, we've got 5 golf balls. This first golf ball is where it's sort of split into 2. Second golf ball split into 2, where these lines sit on top.
Okay.
The back right-hand side of our first golf ball, that's me like where pitching wedge wants to be. Then you go 9-iron, 8-iron, 7-iron, 6-5, 4 hybrids and fairways, and then finally finishing on driver. So it's a nice simple guide. And all I would do at the start of a session is place this out in front of us, okay? Put it on the ground, and you can just hit balls from this inside area here.
Okay.
So you've got a guide of where that ball position wants to
nice.
be. So go on, you've got 7-iron there. We'll start off with that, Nat. So what I would suggest here is if I placed another golf ball on the ground, if we went through this process, so it would be pitching wedge, 9-iron, 8-iron, 7-iron.
Okay.
You sort of want 7-iron around there. So go on, you take your stance. Make sure this ball's in the middle of your stance. Perfect. So straight away, we've got our guide of where we want the ball position to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's easy, because I think it's easy to drift back and not notice that you're doing it.
I mean, the other day, I took a video of myself just doing some coaching and on myself, and I was like, wow, that ball position is so far back. So no matter what level you are, that's a really important point.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a pitching wedge here. Go on, you make that adjustment for that one.
So I'm coming further back this way.
Yeah, and just move that ball now.
Okay.
Where it sits in with pitching wedge. Fab.
So it's a little bit further back. I feel like it can be a bit steeper on this.
Which is what we want to be. We want to be like that. We want to make a divot. And finally, driver. So again, you go a bit wider stance, move that ball up. You'd obviously have a T-peg. And you'll notice how that stance has gone from 7-iron width, a little bit narrower to pitching wedge, and now at its widest point with driver.
Perfect.
Okay, and how do you feel about that guide? Is that easy, simple?
Yeah, easy. You can see it, and I think that's the best way to visualise it. Just line that up on your range mat or out on the turf, wherever you are, and just keep moving that ball across, and then after a little bit of practice, like anything, you'll just know where you are.
Exactly that. Okay, thanks for joining us in week 1. We're going to be looking at our irons and my favourite iron drills and some exercises to keep you physically good over the next few months.